Hello everyone and welcome to my February 22nd, 2025 movie collection update. This is my first video following last month's movie collection update. It's been so cold, I've been so busy with work, there just hasn't really been much time to really get out and do any other kind of videos for the channel, so been passing the winter by watching some movies, spending some money that I got for Christmas. You know, just living the winter as smoothly as I can. And let me tell you, this is going to be a very interesting assortment of films to talk about. Because like usual with me, I like to keep my film watching very eclectic, very memorable. I try to weed out the boring films, so I always look for stuff that I think will make for a good discussion in these videos. And once again, I really think I've topped myself with the strangeness of this one. So getting right into it, we've got some new movies that released last year. The first of which is Saturday Night. Now, Saturday Night is the Saturday Night Live film that is all about the events leading up to the premiere all the way back in the 70s. So you get all the recreations of that night. And of course, you have actors playing Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Garrett Morris. In which case it was a family affair, and it's great, you know. I really have not followed Saturday Night Live that closely in years, even though, for those of you who don't know, my bachelor's degree is literally a bachelor's of comedy writing and performance that I got through Columbia in conjunction with the Second City here in Chicago, and two of my good friends from my cohort, Asha Ward and Megan Sweet, are both staff writers on SNL currently. So ladies, shout out to the two of you. And, you know, say what you will about the politics and the quality of the shows. They just recently had the 50-year anniversary special as well as the 50-year concert special. So, you know, some things are just indelible like that. And Saturday Night Live has really stood the test of time. And this is a really cool film to really, you know, showcase that. And next up, of course, I had to grab Smile 2, which I saw this in the theater. I own the first Smile, so I had to get this to go along with it. And I will say, I do think Smile 2 is the better movie of the two. At the same time, I do still think it's a little overrated, because I almost wish this was the first movie, because this is basically the same exact thing. It follows the same story beats, the same template. It's the first movie done again, but better, which is both a pro and a con to it. That's why I say I wish this was just the first movie, because the first Smile was kind of boring, in all honesty. I didn't really think too much of it. This one, you have a better story, you have a better lead character, you have a better setting for the Smile virus, but it's too familiar. They needed to deviate it way more. And, you know, from what I hear, Parker Finn is getting going on Smile 3. Given where Smile 2 ends, I will say I'm curious as hell to see where they go for it. But if for Smile 3, they really need to switch it up. I will give it the pass for this one, but for Smile 3, we gotta do something new with it. So that's my thought with that. I did not mind that one, though. That one was pretty good, and strangely, a very good pop soundtrack. Now, this one breaks my heart because I had high hopes. It's very critically renowned, and a lot of people love it, and I'm a big champion of the lead actor here. And this is a film where he plays himself. And I heard nothing but good things. It's got nothing but critical praise and high rankings online. So I was like, all right, finally, I get to see another awesome movie with JCVD, fittingly titled exactly that. And this has to be one. Okay, if you like the film, fine. You know, no hate to anybody. I thought this was a complete piece of shit. I'm sorry. This is the worst filmed thing I've ever seen. Like, the color palette, the whole movie is brown. And all of the exposure is cranked all the way up. So wherever there's light or wherever there's white, it's glowing beyond belief. It's like this entire film is a dream scene from another movie. That's how, with the overexposed whites and the brown color and the handheld camera, and this is just a cheap piece of crap. So it was ugly to look at. The acting is terrible. If you watch the native version, if you watch the dubbed version, Jean-Claude Van Damme's monologue is the only thing that's even halfway decent. But it's wasted in this terrible movie. And before you say, oh, Ken, you just didn't like that movie because there's no action in it, blah, 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 blah. Like, no. I am a champion of Jean-Claude Van Damme. I wanted to see a sweeping, dramatic film with him. I didn't give a shit about action. It's just this is the worst possible version of what we could have gotten. I personally don't understand the critical praise, but when have I ever been one to follow the critics? So, I'm sorry however many Jean-Claude Van Damme fans I just made angry there, because I am a big Van Damme fan myself. I just did not like that. Now, one of my favorite Blu-ray boutique companies out there, Kino Lorber, they always deliver. They always make me very happy, especially here, delivering 2 John Candy classics to Blu-ray. This one, Blu-ray for the first time, and this one, 4K for the first time. I still do not give a shit about 4K. My player in here is just a Blu-ray player, and my TV, it's an older one. It's not even a 4K TV. But I never had Uncle Buck on Blu-ray before, so I might as well, skip ahead and get the nice Kino version. I don't think this John Hughes, John Candy, Macaulay Culkin, I don't think Uncle Buck needs that much introduction. One of the most highly revered of the 80s. It's not my favorite John Candy, but I do really like it. I was much more excited about Summer Rental coming to a head and finally getting a Blu-ray release, because I've always liked this one a little bit more than Uncle Buck, John Candy. I love this one. The scene with the cooler, the scenes with the boat. Richard Crenna as your straight man villain in this is excellent. That Jimmy Buffett song, Rip Torn, is in it. It's just a perfect summer beach family easygoing comedy, and I'm so happy to finally have an upgraded copy of Summer Rental. Kino Lorber, you're doing God's work. Now, this one I was interested to see, something else with Jason Momoa, because as you guys know, I am a gigantic Fast and Furious fan. Yes. The guy who's putting down JCVD is a Fast and Furious fan. But, so, I'd never seen Aquaman, because I'm really not a superhero guy. I'd never heard of this before, but the plot was intriguing, the cast was intriguing. I love these wilderness, survival, action thrillers, and this one was perfect for winter, so I was very excited to finally check out Braven with Jason Momoa and Stephen Lang. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. It's okay. There's really nothing special. I don't know what kind of reception this has. I don't know if a lot of people like it. I was just kind of torn down the middle on it. It's an action film. It feels, I don't know if this was theatrical or not. It feels direct to video or direct to streaming. It was fine, but I really don't have that much to say about it. And the ending was a little anticlimactic, but it was there. I'll say that much. Now, this one I found used in my local, one of my used, media shops that I'm always going in, trading stuff in and exchanging. And I'm very glad I found this, because you look this thing up online, it's going for exorbitant prices. Like, this thing is expensive online. And so I snatched it right up. And I love these late 90s, early 2000s cyber thrillers, where just the technology, the music, the aesthetics, just that vibe. Movies like Hackers, like Antitrust, like Strange Days, that whole period. I just love movies like that. And so I checked this one out because it's in that vein, although it's a very different spin on it. It's The 13th Floor with Craig Bierko, Gretchen Mol, and Vincent D'Onofrio. You know, for a 90s, you know, you see this cover, you see how green and techno everything looks on here. And that's what makes it so fun, that half of this movie takes place in the 1930s. So it's like a period piece 30s film while being a 90s virtual reality techno thriller at the same time. And they juggle that pretty well. I was able to kind of see the twist coming with where it goes. It goes a little crazy with that, but it's still done in a very creative way. Because all these virtual reality, alternate timelines, what's real, what's not, all of them tend to be very mindfucky. So after a while, you start being able to somewhat read them. And that's how it was with this. But that being said, it was extremely ambitious. It's a little ahead of its time. It was apparently made first before The Matrix, but The Matrix beat it to the punch. If this ever gets re-released, because like I said, this Blu-ray online is really expensive, and I would not recommend going that far out of your way for it. But it's a fun time capsule that's at the same time ahead of its time. It's ambitious, and everything it gets right, it really gets right. So I enjoyed the 13th Floor. And then these, speaking of spending too much, I ordered these direct from Shout Factory, which is not exactly the cheapest, because these were both out of print for a long time, and they recently started doing this service on their website where they were doing limited pressings of long out-of-print releases. And these two popped up, and I said, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I had to order them. So that's how I wound up with Twice Dead and Communion. Starting with Twice Dead, it's really goofy. Like, the low budget of this one kind of hurts. It's a very low-budget film. It's filmed with bigger ideas than what they were able to capture. And, like, parts of it are funny, and it's kind of all over the place. It's nothing that I'm ever going to rewatch. Truth be told, I'm probably going to sell this off, because it was very impulsive when I bought both of these two. I thought maybe this would be an 80s hidden gem, which is how a lot of people online seem to view this, so don't solely take my word for it. But to me, it was too low budget, and it was too silly in a lot of aspects, and it got some laughs out of me, but at the end of the day, Twice Dead really did not do anything for me. Sorry. Communion, on the other hand, this is one of the most batshit things I've ever watched in my life, mainly thanks to the most bizarre Christopher Walken performance that has ever been put to film. They were making, based on an alleged true story with this, you know, a family drama thriller, psychological, you know, about a man dealing with this unknown, you know, problem where he thinks he's seeing aliens, and it's taking a toll on the family, it's taking a toll on their lives. And everybody in the movie takes that seriously. Sans Christopher Walken, the lead character, who is just bouncing off the walls, acting like the biggest goofball. This is, you know, when people make fun of Christopher Walken and do impressions and exaggerate him, his actual performance in this tops any, you know, impersonation of him that's ever been done. It is bizarre. And if you go on YouTube, you can find all these compilations. Christopher Walken scenes in Communion, where he's dancing with aliens and he's giving them high fives and he's just yelling things and he's shouting. One of the strangest things I've ever seen, but it was also weirdly entrancing for that same reason. So, yeah. This was something. I recommend it. If you're a fan of aliens and UFOs and kind of psychological paranoia thrillers, it works on that realm, but you have to put up with cartoon Christopher Walken above all of it. Like, it's a delight. Now this one, see, I'm very glad I waited and then I bought this later, because this is a film that's been on my radar for a few years, but the DVD was always out of print and expensive, so I was kind of waiting for someone to put it out. And then Terror Vision put it out, but they put it out with this huge deluxe set. And can I just say to all the boutique Blu-ray labels, because I know, you know, the physical media, which I don't want to associate myself with the physical media blue tubers, because I'm not. I love movies. I could care less about the packaging, the presentation. I just want a nice upgraded copy of the movies I love because I love the movies. I don't give a fuck about, it's not 5.1 Dolby Surround DTS. In my opinion, screw all you. Because you give movie collectors and physical media collectors a bad name, so... And people with their, you know, with the boutique labels and the way some of the businesses are run, I'm just not, I just chase the movies I really want to watch. I'm not a physical media hoarder. I'm not an attention whore at any of that. I just like finding good movies. So can we please lay the fuck off with every single thing having to be a big deluxe edition with index cards and a booklet and a poster and a CD soundtrack? Like, can I just buy the Blu-ray? Like, does everything have to be a deluxe thing? No. Like, I've got limited shelf space as it is. It's like, come on. I just want you, stop milking us. And collectors, stop being so damn gullible over everything. Jeez. So I stayed true to my guns and I did not buy the deluxe edition of this, because in my opinion, it's a waste of money. It's stupid. I'm going to watch the movie. How often am I going to go through my index cards? How often am I going to string up my entire room here with all these posters? Never. 1 month later, Terror Vision answered the call and they put out just a standard Blu-ray 4K of Rumpelstiltskin. So I'm like, ha! I got my wish! And it delivered a really fun movie out of that, too. This is goofy as all hell. The acting from pretty much everyone involved is not very good, but that just adds to the experience of this. It's almost like a Looney Tunes, Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner cartoon where it's just Rumpelstiltskin chasing the woman, "Give me your baby, bitch!" the whole time, and it's ridiculous. It's campy as all hell, but I had a lot of fun watching it. Total 90s VHS rental monster film. Yeah, great job by everyone involved with Rumpelstiltskin. See, I got so animated I knocked one of the discs loose. Let's fix that. All right, there we go. It's the other cover for that. Okay, Rumpelstiltskin. Thank you all for listening to my rant about that. And then this was just another cheapo blind buy from my used store, Night Hunter. And I gotta say, this one was a pleasant surprise. It's a weird little film for Henry Cavill, Stanley Tucci, Alexandra Daddario. And, you know, what's cool about this is a total 90s serial killer thriller done in 2018. They nail the vibe. This is a 90s film. This is absolute Silence of the Lambs, Copycat, like that whole realm of just 90s serial killer thrillers. It's a pretty quirky one, too, but I give the movie a lot of props because while, you know, there's aspects of it that are typical, if you're familiar with that 90s subgenre of thriller, you know exactly the kind of movie you're going to get, and it doesn't deviate too far from it. But you have Ben Kingsley and this whole subplot where him and this girl are castrating child predators and groomers, and then you have your villain who's totally, like, they've got their own thing going on. And there's twists in this I genuinely did not see coming. So I gotta say, Night Hunter was definitely a little bit of a pleasant surprise. Yeah. No, it's not earth-shattering. It's not going to be like one of your favorites of all time, but I'm like, for this little $5 pickup that I never heard of before, it's pretty solid. This one is disappointing, though, because it has a plot. It's basically The Thing and Leviathan. Which are two movies that I love. They're very similar, but I love them both. And so this sounded like another one of those, and it was British. If you know me, I love my British movies. I've got 1.5 to talk about still in this update. What do you mean by half? You will see when I show it. But this one is called Sea Fever, which again, it basically just sounded like Leviathan. If you're familiar with the plot of that, it's basically what this is. So I was excited to watch it, and I was extremely bored. There's really nothing interesting, nothing to run home about with this. It starts intriguing enough. Again, really low budget, but there's some breathtaking underwater cinematography. Now, I don't know if that was all filmed for this, or if that's stock footage from somewhere. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say that was probably filmed for this movie. The underwater cinematography in this is excellent. It is beautiful. But the movie itself, the horror, there's like one like cringe, like squeamy, moment in there, but it just, I found myself just kind of bored the whole time. I feel like with a little bit more of a higher budget, they probably could have made a little bit better of a film out of this. So as it is, Sea Fever. Now this one is just a DVD to Blu-ray upgrade. And because, I'm currently going through my collection, trying to upgrade all my DVDs to Blu-ray, or at least the ones worthy of it. And I'm constantly curating my collection and giving stuff away and donating stuff and exchanging stuff in. But this is one of my favorites, so I had to upgrade my copy of Trailer Park Boys, the movie. I was into Trailer Park Boys long before Netflix ever picked it up. This was the first piece of Trailer Park Boys media I saw when I was in the 7th grade. Yep, 12-year-old me watching Trailer Park Boys. But, I like to think I turned out okay in the end. And it's just a blast. It's a very acquired taste. I need to stress that. But the TV show is hilarious. The specials are hilarious. The swearnet.com, you can subscribe to them. They've got hilarious podcasts and shows on there. The only piece of Trailer Park Boys media I was not a fan of was the animated series. It's the only one I didn't like. They've got 4 movies, the 4th one of which I got to see in the theater back in December, which was great. And yeah, it's just, this is the movie with the big dirty, where they pull off the big heist, or at least the Trailer Park Boys equivalent of a big heist. So happy to have this in my collection on Blu-ray. It's weird to have nostalgia for something like Trailer Park Boys, because I was watching it way too young, but it is what it is. Okay, now I've got 5 DVDs to talk about, so we'll go through these. It's another British thriller, and again, I bought this because I'm like, wow, that sounds like a British version of Joyride, which is a Paul Walker, Steve Zahn movie that I love. And now that I've watched it, it's not really a British version of Joyride. It is a British version of Breakdown with Kurt Russell. So I'm just going to sum that up. A British version of Breakdown with Kurt Russell. If that sounds like something you would like, then you will like this movie, which is exactly as I did. It's called Hush. Not to be confused with the Mike Flanagan film that I showed in the last update. Like I said, it deals with human trafficking, and it's a British road chase mystery film like Breakdown. It's very similar to that. And at first I was a little worried, because when this starts up, the couple are just bickering the whole time. They're going back and forth, and I'm like, oh no, is this going to be the whole... Thankfully, no. That's only at the beginning. And once the mystery and the intrigue really start going, this is actually a really good thriller. IFC Midnight, some of this stuff is on Blu-ray, some of it is not. Like this one does not have a Blu-ray. Exam does not have a Blu-ray, which is another... I really like that film. I would totally get that on Blu-ray. They might have Blu-rays overseas, but not, a US one. MPI, man. Come on. But no, solid. I'd even say underrated. So, yeah, Hush. I liked it better than the Mike Flanagan Hush, and that just got a 4-disc Blu-ray. So, come on, show some love to the Brits. Now, this one's going to be tricky to talk about, because I don't know who the hell I can recommend this to. I had never heard of this before. I read the synopsis of it, and I'm like, okay, that's either going to be a hidden gem of a metaphoric symbolic horror tale, or it's going to be the most distasteful thing I've ever seen in my life. So, of course, I bought it to really see, and I had never heard of this. I had never heard anybody talk about this, and I'm honestly surprised it's not more well-known because of how fucked up the premise is, because it's loosely based on the true story of Andrea Yates. If you don't know who Andrea Yates is or what she did, I will let you look that up on your own time. But this is a film called Baby Blues that came out in 2008. And again, I had never heard of this. Although, weirdly enough, I looked up the screenwriter of this, Lars Jacobson, who is also the co-director. He wrote Novocaine, the Jack Quaid movie that comes out next month. I'm like, and he started with this? Because basically what this is, it's a slasher film, takes place on a farm, where it's a mother suffering from postpartum depression. Michael Myers style, she's trying to kill all of her young children. And when I say young children, it's like, no, these are like 6-year-old kids as your slasher victims in this. So you have a movie where, because of postpartum depression, a mom is slaughtering her little kids. And it's done like a Halloween, like, stalk and slash thriller on this farm. It's every bit as distasteful and insensitive as it sounds, but it's also really weirdly juxtaposed by the fact this is campy as all fuck. Because the mom, they give her all these one-liners, like, Jimmy, it's past your bedtime, or Mommy always told you not to play with matches. And like, she's acting she's all bug-eyed, acting crazy. And like, I was watching this and I was laughing at it. And I'm like, okay, this is the last film I expected to ever be laughing at, because you're watching such horrific things. I mean, this movie goes places no other horror movie that I really know of really has gone. So I give props to the fact they just had balls of steel and didn't give a fuck. But at the same time, it's so campy to where you can't fully invest in the disturbing nature of it because it's really stupid and over the top. And it's like, this should have been a really deep psychological examination of postpartum depression. But instead, they just used it as an excuse to make a slasher film where your victims are all little children on a farm and a baby. That's why I was entertained and I was into this. I just don't know who the hell I can recommend this to. If you're a parent, I wouldn't recommend it to you. If you love kids, I wouldn't recommend it. It's a tough watch. I mean, I'm a bachelor. I don't have any kids. So I'm able to disassociate myself from something like this. But yeah, I was entertained. And I, give credit to the filmmakers for going places, even though they didn't use any of their brain to do it. They just made an insensitive as hell slasher film. But yeah, that's a hard one to grade. And lastly, this one is falling apart in my hand. Remember when I said I had a British film and a half? Well, that's because I have an all-region player, and this is a German DVD that clearly also states it includes an English language track. And it's a turn-of-the-century British techno club coming-of-age film. And I'm like, sign me up. It's from 1999. I'm talking about Greenwich Mean Time, also known as just GMT. I go to the language menu. There's English. I select English. And what happens? It still plays the German language track of the film. So, yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch this. Because this film barely has any release anywhere. Because it was a British TV film. So this German DVD was all I could finance in this. I hate these DVD jewel cases. And you can see this one is falling apart in my hand as I'm working. So this might be a good movie. But I don't know. I never got to watch it. So if anyone out there can hook me up with an English language bootleg copy of GMT Greenwich Mean Time, feel free. We're just about done. Last movie I have to talk about. I love spoofs. I love parodies, and this one had a really good cast, and it's about the 80s, but it was parodying the 80s in the mid-2000s before the 80s were really trendy, you know, so I was eager to give this one the benefit of the doubt. Totally awesome. This sucked. I like Chris Kattan. I mean, guys, I like Corky Romano. I grew up with that. But this sucks. Got Chris Kattan, Tracy Morgan, James Hong, but it plays on all the 80s tropes, but in the most lazy, uncreative way possible. And then when I saw that this movie was produced by VH1, it pretty much said all I need to know. Yeah, I thought this sucked. Sorry. And last but not least, because I always like to try to have a TV show season to round out and, you know, dive into a little bit of TV. I decided this was only like $17 for all 8 seasons, so I picked up the complete series of Wings, which is definitely an underrated sitcom that you don't hear about as much, and it never really comes up. Like, they've revived Frasier, and they've done all this. You really don't hear a lot about Wings these days. And I had a blast with it. Like, throughout all of January and February, I was binging most of this. Only I lost interest after about halfway through season 7, because A, they got rid of Alex, and they replaced her with Casey, who I did not like. We needed Alex. She was awesome. But most tragically was Thomas Hayden Church stepping away from the role of Lowell to do his other sitcom at the time. He refused to even come back for the finale of this. You sons of bitches. Lowell was the best character. So that stung. But outside of that, Tony Shalhoub, Tim Daly, Steven Weber, it's a lot. It's a very entertaining show. You get through all the seasons. There's really funny episodes. There's surprisingly emotional episodes. It's definitely, you know, in the vein of Seinfeld kind of humor. And there's even crossovers. There's an episode where Kelsey Grammer shows up as Frasier Crane, and the Cheers people are in a different episode. And so there's a lot of surprises to be had with Wings. This is a fun show that definitely deserves more recognition. And hell, I'd watch a revival with, you know, 60-something-year-old Tim Daly, Steven Weber, and if they could get Thomas Hayden Church. Tom, I love you. Get your thumb out of your ass and play your favorite character one more time. Please. Alright guys, well that was my February movie collection update. I hope you were entertained. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any comments about any of the movies, leave them down below. Hopefully I'll get more content for you soon. I know, like I said, this is 2 movie collection videos in a row just because it's been so cold here and haven't really been able to do much of anything. But hopefully we've got some more for you on the horizon. And we will see you very soon. Probably another 2 months for the next movie update. Usually do one in April, so probably around then. Thank you all for watching. Take care, and we will see you on the flip side.